Chapter 1. The Arrival on Xiren, 9 and the Brewing Storm. The horizon's edge cut a sleek silhouette against the swirling lavender mists of Xiren 9's upper atmosphere, its hull gleaming faintly in the planet's twin suns, refracted through the ever-shifting gaseous layers that blanketed the world like a restless sea. Inside the bridge, Elias Crane stood silently, his gaze locked on the viewport that revealed a storm brewing far below, a tempest the likes of which had eluded even the most sophisticated predictive algorithms of the Galactic Union's vast meteorological network. He was a human meteorologist on a diplomatic mission unlike any he'd ever known. Here on Xiren, 9, weather was not just a matter of climate or seasonal patterns. It was a living, breathing force of nature, sometimes benevolent, but often ferocious and unpredictable, bending the very environment to its whim in ways that confounded technology and terrified even the most seasoned alien leaders. Elias had been invited precisely because of a trait no machine could replicate: a human's instinctual connection to the natural world, the ability to read subtle signs in the air changes in scent, the slow morphing of cloud shapes, the texture of the wind that told stories no data streams could capture. As the ship descended, the violet mists thickened, and the horizon blurred with sheets of translucent rain that shimmered like liquid crystal. Below, the sprawling metropolis of Verith, capital of the Xirani Dominion, stretched in magnificent arcs of bioengineered towers and gleaming spires, their architecture organic and flowing, rising like crystalline trees from the lush plains that bordered the storm-lashed coasts. The city was an awe-inspiring fusion of nature and technology. Suspended gardens floated above streets woven with living circuitry, while airborne drones flitted among giant flowering plants genetically tailored to clean the toxic air. Yet, despite the marvels of civilization, a palpable tension hung over Verith like a dark cloud. The gathering storm was not merely atmospheric. It was political, a tempest of uncertainty that mirrored the one building outside. Inside the Grand Council chamber, an immense dome of transparent bioglass offered a panoramic view of the roiling skies. Alien dignitaries from across the quadrant had assembled to discuss an alliance to safeguard their worlds against existential threats, both external and internal. But as the first distant rumbles of thunder vibrated faintly through the chamber's floor, the normally stoic leaders began to show cracks in their composed facades. The Xirani, tall, lithe beings with iridescent, scale-like skin and eyes that shifted in hue with their moods exchanged anxious glances. Their delicate physiology was highly sensitive to electromagnetic fluctuations, and storms on their world were known to induce neurological distress, rendering even the most powerful statespersons vulnerable to panic and irrationality. Elias, standing near the chamber's entrance, observed the reactions with a quiet calm. Unlike his alien counterparts, his species had evolved on a turbulent world where weather was a constant challenge. Harsh sun-scorched deserts, brutal storms lashed coasts, and cold fronts swept relentlessly across continents. Humans had learned to read the sky with their own eyes and noses, senses finely tuned to the smallest changes. The scent of ozone carried on the breeze, the way clouds gathered in turbulent swirls, the sudden stillness that presaged a storm's arrival. This knowledge, almost instinctual, had been largely lost or dismissed by the galaxy's reliance on artificial intelligence and data-driven forecasts. But here, on Xiren, 9, Elias's skills were not just useful, they were essential. As the first sheets of rain began to fall outside the dome, a hush fell over the assembly. The alien leaders murmured anxiously among themselves, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the chamber and the darkening skies. Communication devices began to crackle with interference, and the advanced environmental controls struggled to compensate for the shifting conditions. The political atmosphere was thick with unease, rival factions eyeing each other warily as the storm grew in intensity. The tension broke when the elder matriarch Kaelin, the revered leader of the Xirani Dominion, raised her voice calm but firm. "We must act swiftly," she declared. "The storm threatens our technology, our infrastructure, and our very lives. We need clarity, certainty. Who among us can predict its course and offer guidance?" Eyes turned toward Elias, the lone human among beings whose civilizations span millennia. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the room. How could a species so new, so unremarkable in the grand cosmic scheme, hold the key to understanding the fury of a storm that defied their advanced sciences? Yet Kalen's gaze was steady, her expression one of hope born from desperation. Elias stepped forward, aware of the weight of expectation pressing on him. He took a breath and closed his eyes briefly, reaching out with senses honed by years of experience. He inhaled deeply, savoring the complex aromas carried by the atmosphere. The sharp tang of ozone signaling electric charge, the subtle earthiness of dampened vegetation, the metallic scent of ionized particles. His eyes scanned the cloud formations beyond the dome, massive, billowing towers of vapor twisted and writhed like living creatures, their edges tinged with iridescent hues from the planet's unique atmospheric chemistry. Elias noticed the delicate stratifications, the slow undulations in the wind currents, the telltale swelling in the lower clouds. Opening his eyes, he spoke with quiet confidence. This storm is unlike any you've seen, but it follows natural patterns if you know where to look. The air scent tells me there's a shift coming, a front moving faster than your sensors detected. The clouds show signs of rapid convection and turbulence building in the upper layers, indicating the storm will intensify sharply in the next few hours, but then it will shift eastward and begin to dissipate. If preparations are made accordingly, the damage can be minimized. A stunned silence followed. The alien leaders processed his words, their skepticism slowly giving way to cautious hope. Several approached him with questions. How could such simple methods outpace their quantum sensors? Elias explained how human senses, evolved over millennia of survival on an unpredictable planet, offered nuanced real-time data that even the most advanced machines struggled to replicate. He described the subtle cues, how changes in wind carried scents that preempted lightning, how the formation of certain cloud shapes predicted hail or electrical surges, and how the air's temperature and humidity variations served as early warnings. As the storm grew outside, painting the sky in violent strokes of violet and gold, the council acted on Elias's predictions. Emergency protocols were enacted, infrastructure was secured, and citizens were warned through holographic broadcasts. The alien leaders, previously paralyzed by fear and uncertainty, rallied with renewed determination, their faith bolstered by the humans' uncanny insight. Throughout the night, as thunder rolled and lightning danced across the alien skies, Elias stood beside Zura, a Shalian envoy assigned to assist him, watching the storm unfold precisely as he had foreseen. His senses remained alert, his mind absorbing every subtle change in the air, every shift in cloud texture, every scent carried by the turbulent winds. The alien leaders observed in awe as he predicted not only the storm's path, but its intensity fluctuations, saving countless lives and preserving delicate technologies. When dawn finally broke over Xiron 9, the storm passed, leaving behind cleansed skies and a world grateful for the strange human who had read the clouds and smelled the air as if it were an ancient language. The alien leaders' panic gave way to respect and a newfound appreciation for the unpredictable beauty and power of natural intuition, a reminder that sometimes, even in a galaxy dominated by technology, the oldest human senses held secrets worth cherishing. The heavy glass dome above the council chamber shimmered as storm clouds gathered swiftly on the horizon, thickening like an angry beast preparing to strike. The alien leaders, tall and slender with skin that shimmered iridescent shades of blue and green, their multifaceted eyes flickering nervously, exchanged uneasy glances. To them, the storm was no mere weather event, but a harbinger of chaos and disruption. Their complex biocities relied on delicate atmospheric balances, and sudden violent shifts threatened entire systems of energy generation and life support. Murmurs of concern filled the chamber, voices tinged with panic as the storm drew closer. Elias stood apart, calm and collected. He inhaled deeply, focusing on the subtle scents carried in the alien air, the faint sharpness of ozone, a wet earthiness that hinted at coming rain, and the faint metallic tang that told him of rising electrical activity. His eyes scanned the sky beyond the dome. He noticed the way the clouds layered and curled, the dark bases swollen with moisture, the wisps of higher cirrus clouds racing swiftly on strong upper winds. These signs, invisible to the array of sensors humming at the chamber's edge, spoke to him with clarity. Elias knew from years spent reading Earth's skies that instinct, experience, and a trained nose often revealed more than cold data. Suddenly, the great council chamber's energy flickered as electrical surges rippled through the city's power grid. The alien dignitaries flinched. Elder Matriarch Kalen's usually steady voice cracked as she commanded, "Secure the city's defenses. Protect the energy nodes. We cannot afford a blackout." A sense of chaos rippled through the assembly, tension thickening with each passing moment. The alien scientists scrambled to recalibrate instruments, but the storm's rapid approach outpaced even their most advanced forecasts. They were ill-prepared for such sudden change, their protocols inadequate for the fury the sky promised. Panic began to take root. It was then that all eyes turned toward Elias, the lone human in the room, whose species had no native presence on Xiron. 9 yet had been called here because of his unique skill. Murmurs rose. How can a human predict what our greatest technologies cannot? A primitive species, relying on old-world instincts. But Kalen silenced the crowd with a sharp gesture. Let him speak. We must grasp any chance to protect our people. Elias stepped forward, clearing his throat. I may not have your advanced instruments, he began slowly. But nature speaks if you listen. The scent in the air, the shape and movement of clouds, these tell stories that sensors cannot always catch in real time. He breathed deeply again, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. There's a front moving faster than your arrays show. The wind's humidity and the electric charge rising mean the storm will reach full strength within the next hour, then shift eastward, sparing much of the city from worse damage if precautions are made now. Skepticism rippled but soon gave way to tentative hope as Elias detailed his observations. How the rising ozone smell indicated electrical buildup. How the thickening cumulonimbus clouds' anvil shapes signaled the storm's maturity, and how the sudden quiet before a gust portended the arrival of intense winds. He urged calm and swift preparation. Throughout the chamber, alien leaders watched and listened, many still doubtful, yet compelled by his conviction. As Elias spoke, the first streaks of lightning fractured the darkened sky outside, thunder rolling like distant drums. The city's energy grids flickered perilously but held steady. Emergency crews mobilized at Kalen's command, and protective shields were reinforced over vital infrastructure. Elias stood beside Zira, a slender Shalian envoy assigned to him, her delicate eyes wide with respect and relief. The storm raged outside, fierce and relentless, but thanks to his predictions, chaos was mitigated. And as dawn broke over Xiron, 9, clearing skies revealed a city spared the worst, and alien leaders now regarded the human with new admiration, recognizing that sometimes the old ways and natural intuition could surpass the most advanced technology. Chapter 2. The Eye of the Storm and the Unseen Currents. The morning after the storm passed over Xiron, 9 was eerily calm. The violet haze that had once choked the skies had dissipated, revealing the twin suns casting soft, warming light across the vast city of Vareth. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, damp earth, and the faint metallic tang of lingering electric charge, a sensory mosaic that human senses like Elias's picked up with instinctual precision. Alien leaders gathered in the council chambers again, their nervous energy tempered but far from quelled, their eyes still wary of the fickle atmosphere that ruled their lives. The storm had tested their defenses and their resolve, and though the devastation was less than feared, the tremors of uncertainty ran deep. They were grateful for Elias's uncanny weather predictions, but many remained skeptical of relying on something so organic and intangible, something as simple as smell and sight in a galaxy dominated by quantum sensors and AI supercomputers. Elias, now firmly established as both an advisor and a symbol of human intuition, found himself under intense scrutiny and curiosity alike. His methods, once dismissed as primitive or anecdotal, were now recognized as invaluable, particularly in this world where technology could not fully grasp the unpredictable symphony of atmospheric phenomena. The alien leaders, many of whom had dedicated lifetimes to mastering the sciences of their species, were fascinated and unsettled in equal measure. Their pride wrestled with pragmatism as they sought to understand how a human could decipher the complex dances of clouds and winds by mere observation and scent. "Your predictions saved many lives, human," Kaylin said during the morning session, her multifaceted eyes reflecting sincere respect. But this storm was only a prelude. Reports indicate a greater tempest brewing beyond the eastern ridge, a vortex unlike any we have seen. "If your senses are as sharp as you claim, you must help us foresee what our instruments cannot." Elias nodded thoughtfully, sensing the gravity of their fears. The storm that had passed was fierce but natural. What lay ahead was enigmatic, a tempest born not just of atmosphere, but perhaps of deeper, planetary forces yet to be understood. "Storms like these do not appear without cause," Elias replied. "There are unseen currents at play, layers of wind and pressure interacting with the planet's magnetic fields, moisture gradients, and thermal flows. Technology can measure these elements, but often misses the subtle precursors that a living world whispers. I will observe, smell, and watch, but I will need time and access to your environment." Granted passage to the observation towers high above the city, Elias stepped onto open balconies that overlooked the sweeping plains and mountainous ridges beyond. Here, the air was thinner, colder, and redolent with minerals and wild vegetation, sense alien but vivid to his senses. He inhaled deeply, parsing the complex bouquet of smells, the acrid bite of ionization, the damp sweetness of rarefied moisture, and a faint, unsettling odor akin to burning metal that hinted at electrochemical activity beneath the surface. His gaze roamed the sky where clouds amassed in shifting layers, billowing lenticular formations, twisted spirals of cirrus, and massive cumulonimbus domes glowing faintly with electrical charge. Each formation told a story, a chapter in the unfolding drama of the storm's birth and potential path. Elias understood that the tempest ahead was a living organism, fed not only by heat and moisture, but by the planet's magnetic flux, tectonic movements, and even biological feedback from native flora and fauna. Xiron 9 was a world in dynamic equilibrium, where life and geology intertwined in a dance as complex as any known ecosystem. To predict its storms required more than science. It demanded intuition, empathy, and reverence for the unseen forces. His senses sharpened further as he watched clouds darken and currents shift subtly. The storm's eye was forming a swirling void of calm surrounded by violent turbulence, the hallmark of a cyclone on a scale that dwarfed any terrestrial analog. Yet unlike Earth's storms, this one was layered with strange energies, visible only as flickers of iridescent light dancing on the edges of clouds, a phenomenon recorded but not understood by Xirani meteorologists. Elias's nostrils flared as he detected fluctuations in electric charge, sharp tangs of ozone that ebbed and flowed like breaths. He could smell the storm's intent, feel the weight of its gathering fury pressing upon the land like an approaching predator. Throughout the day and into the cold, alien night, Elias monitored the atmosphere with a primal focus. The alien scientists surrounded him with equipment arrays of spectral scanners, ion counters, gravimetric sensors, but it was his living senses that cut through the noise and ambiguity. He tracked subtle changes invisible to instruments, the thinning of cloud layers signaling shifts in pressure, the soft rustle of wind indicating shifting currents, the scent changes that heralded bursts of electrical activity. His predictions grew sharper, mapping the storm's likely path, intensity spikes, and dissipation points. Meanwhile, among the alien leaders, a transformation began. Their initial skepticism faded into a reluctant admiration and deep curiosity. Some approached Elias with questions about his species' ancient practices, intrigued by the human capacity to read the sky as one might read an old friend's face. For all their technological marvels, they recognized a fundamental truth. The natural world often spoke in languages machines could not fully comprehend. Elias became a bridge between human instinct and alien science, between past wisdom and future technology. As the monstrous vortex crept closer, its swirling clouds blotting out stars and casting shadows over the land, Elias prepared to issue his most crucial prediction yet. The storm's peak would bring bursts of energy unlike anything recorded, threatening to disable city systems and endanger lives. But with careful timing and action, the worst could be mitigated. His calm voice carried over the council chamber's calms, urging decisive measures that balanced evacuation with protection, anticipation with restraint. The night storm arrived with a fury that tested every preparation. Thunder cracked like cosmic artillery, lightning flashed in jagged streaks illuminating alien mountains and bioengineered forests, and torrential rains battered the city's defenses. Yet the emergency protocols held. Power grids remained online, life support stabilized, and citizens found shelter guided by clear warnings. The alien leaders, watching anxiously from the secure chambers, breathed a collective sigh of relief as the storm passed with less damage than feared. In the quiet aftermath, Kalen approached Elias with a gesture of profound respect. "You have not only saved us," she said, "but you have reminded us that true knowledge is not solely found in data, but in connection to the world, to life itself. Your senses are a gift, and we would be honored to learn from them." Elias smiled, humbled by their acceptance and hopeful for the future. "Sometimes," he said, "we must remember that technology can fail, but the wisdom of living things endures. The clouds and winds have stories to tell, if we only listen." And so, on Zyron 9, amid alien skies and storm-scarred lands, the ancient human art of weather reading found new life woven into the fabric of interstellar alliance and shared survival. A reminder that no matter how far civilizations reach, some truths remain timeless and universal. The language of the air, the shifting clouds, and the quiet wisdom of nature itself. Chapter 3. The Hidden Currents and the Silent Threat. The day after the storm's passing brought an uneasy stillness across Zyron 9, a momentary calm that felt less like relief and more like the quiet before an unseen tempest. The violet skies, once churning with violent energy, had faded into a translucent canopy that stretched infinitely overhead, pale and fragile as glass. But beneath this deceptive calm, the planet whispered secrets only those attuned to its subtle signals could hear, a complex language encoded in the shifting mists, the faint hum of ionized particles, and the delicate dance of invisible currents weaving through the atmosphere. Elias Crane, standing atop the observation tower high above Vareth, inhaled deeply, his senses absorbing every nuance in the air. The storm had been fierce, yes, but it was only a fragment of the greater symphony of natural forces shaping this alien world. And now, as he peered into the depths of the sky and the ground below, he understood that the real challenge had yet to come. Around him, the alien meteorological arrays whirred and clicked, releasing pulses of data that flooded the central display with streams of complex patterns and spectral analyses. The Zerani scientists, brilliant minds devoted to unraveling their planet's mysteries, crowded around, their multifaceted eyes flickering rapidly as they struggled to interpret the raw data. Yet despite their advanced technology devices that could detect minute electromagnetic fluctuations, map three-dimensional wind currents, and analyze atmospheric chemistry in real time, they found themselves at the mercy of phenomena that danced just beyond the reach of computation. The currents swirling invisibly in the ionosphere, the subtle resonance of magnetic fields interacting with planetary geology, the bioelectrical emissions from native flora that modulated atmospheric conductivity, all these intertwined in a delicate web that challenged even their greatest minds. Elias turned his gaze skyward, where the clouds formed intricate filaments of pearlescent vapor, shifting with a grace that belied their hidden power. He recognized patterns familiar from Earth's own complex systems, but layered here with alien variables that altered their behavior in ways both fascinating and unpredictable. He lifted a hand to the humid breeze, closing his eyes to focus on its scent, the acrid tang of ionization, the faint earthy sweetness of decomposing plant matter, the metallic hint of mineral dust lifted from distant plateaus. Each note told a story of hidden forces at play, and Elias's years of experience translated these invisible messages into a coherent narrative of impending change. As the Zerani scientists continued to debate models and simulations, Elias listened to the subtle rhythm of the planet itself, the almost imperceptible shifts in air pressure, the low-frequency hum emanating from deep within the crust, the whisper of solar winds interacting with Zyron 9's magnetic shield. These signals hinted at a silent threat, a convergence of forces that traditional technology had failed to detect. The storm had been but a surface ripple. Beneath, the planet was gearing up for a complex event, a cascade of atmospheric and geological interactions that could trigger a series of catastrophic phenomena. Electromagnetic pulses capable of disabling vital infrastructure, sudden seismic tremors shaking bioengineered habitats, and storms fueled by charged particle storms from space. Elias knew that predicting such events required more than sensors. It demanded an intimate understanding of nature's interconnectedness. He began instructing the alien scientists to incorporate sensory observations alongside their instruments. How shifts in smell could indicate sudden ozone surges, how the behavior of local flora, its subtle movements and release of volatile compounds could serve as natural barometers, and how the formation of certain cloud shapes at high altitudes signaled electrical discharges brewing far above. Slowly, the technology and intuition began to mesh, creating a richer, more nuanced picture of Xiron 9's complex ecosystem. Days passed, and as the second storm approached, a behemoth swirling with an intensity that challenged comprehension, Elias's predictions proved prescient once more. The alien leadership, having seen the previous storm's devastation mitigated by his guidance, placed their trust in his instincts and ancient knowledge. Evacuation orders were issued with precision, energy shields realigned, and vulnerable sectors reinforced. The human's uncanny ability to read the sky, smell the winds, and watch the clouds with unerring accuracy saved countless lives and prevented widespread destruction. Yet amidst the success, Elias remained vigilant, sensing that the true test was yet to unfold. The storms I was forming not just in the clouds, but in the heart of the planet, a convergence of unseen currents that threatened to unleash a cataclysm beyond weather alone. The intertwined fates of alien and human alike now rested on his ability to bridge instinct and technology, tradition and innovation. As the second tempest roared to life, Elias stood once more on the observation tower, watching the skies dance with violet lightning and listening to the silent whispers of Xiron 9's mysterious heartbeat. He understood now that his role was more than meteorologist, was that of a translator between worlds, a keeper of nature's secrets, and a beacon of hope in the face of cosmic chaos. And as the storm engulfed the horizon, he prepared to face the unknown with steady heart and keen senses, ready to guide the Alliance through the darkest tempests of the galaxy. Chapter 4: The Storm's Revelation and the Unseen Horizon. The final storm that loomed over Xiron 9 was unlike any the planet or its inhabitants had ever witnessed. It was a celestial tempest, a convulsion of atmospheric fury and deep planetary unrest that stretched across the violet skies in tumultuous waves of iridescent lightning and roiling clouds, swirling with colors both alien and sublime. From the high observation decks of Veritha's central tower, Elias Crane watched with a steady gaze, his senses alive with the raw power of nature as it unfurled its might. Around him, the alien leaders gathered once more, their faces etched with worry and hope, for this storm represented not only a test of their technology and preparedness, but a crucible of trust in the human who had, through simple yet profound means, bridged the gap between instinct and science. The air itself was thick with charged particles, carrying scents that Elias inhaled deeply. The sharp ozone that presaged lightning, the damp earthiness hinting at sudden rains, and beneath it all, an underlying metallic bitterness, an invisible signature of the planet's restless core stirring in tandem with the tempest. To most of the assembled aliens, these subtle sensory cues were meaningless, ephemeral whispers drowned beneath data streams and calculations. But to Elias, they formed an unbroken narrative, a story told by the wind and clouds, a language written in scent and shadow that could unlock the storm's secrets. As the storm's eye drew nearer, Elias stood apart, yet at the center of it all, embodying a fusion of ancient wisdom and modern insight. His method was unorthodox. Instead of relying solely on instruments and simulations, he trusted his own senses, his nose to detect shifts in the atmosphere, his eyes to read the language of clouds, his instincts to perceive the unseen currents threading the skies. It was an art refined by millennia of human evolution on a volatile Earth, a legacy that now illuminated paths through alien tempests beyond the reach of algorithms. The alien leaders, once skeptical and prone to panic, now hung on his every word, their fears assuaged by his quiet confidence and uncanny accuracy. Elder Matriarch Kalen, whose own people had suffered greatly from the planet's unpredictable weather, listened intently as Elias described the storm's phases, how the swirling cumulonimbus towers would converge to unleash a sudden burst of energy, how lightning strikes might trigger feedback loops in their bioengineered infrastructure, and how subtle shifts in wind direction and humidity could signal the difference between devastation and survival. Elias's predictions were not just theoretical, they were rooted in the living world. He demonstrated how the scent of the air could reveal ionization levels far more sensitively than sensors, how cloud formations foreshadowed electrical discharges, and how the behavior of native plant life, its slight quiver or release of volatile compounds, served as natural barometers. His explanations bridged the ancient and the advanced, weaving human intuition into the fabric of alien science. As the storm unleashed its fury, crashing waves of violet lightning tore across the sky, illuminating the swirling tempest in a spectral ballet of destruction and beauty. The ground trembled as seismic ripples cascaded through the bioengineered foundations of the city, and torrential rains pounded the landscape with relentless force. But thanks to Elias's guidance, emergency protocols activated with precision, power grids adjusted, energy shields strengthened, and citizens evacuated to secure shelters with calm efficiency. The storm's peak lasted only minutes, but felt eternal, a concentrated surge of elemental chaos that tested the resilience of every being and system within its reach. When the skies finally cleared, revealing a battered yet unbroken city beneath soft dawn light, a collective sigh of relief echoed through the halls of power. The alien leaders turned to Elias with gratitude and newfound respect, acknowledging that sometimes the oldest human senses, smell, sight, intuition, were keys to understanding even the most alien worlds. Yet, amid the triumph, Elias sensed that the storm's true revelation lay not in its destruction but in what it had awakened. Beneath the swirling skies and fractured earth, hidden currents of energy and life stirred signals that this tempest was but a chapter in a greater cosmic story, one that wove together fate, nature, and the enduring spirit of survival. The alliance that had once teetered on the edge of discord now found unity in shared vulnerability and the wisdom of a human who had taught them to listen to the silent language of the air. As Elias looked toward the distant horizon, where clouds still whispered promises of change, he understood that his journey on Xiran 9 was only beginning. The planet, with its wild tempests and secret rhythms, had opened a door to mysteries deeper than weather, mysteries that bound all life across stars and time. And in that connection, the true power of human senses and human hope would forever endure. The storm's aftermath left a profound silence across the city of Vareth, the kind of quiet that settled deep into the bones of those who had witnessed nature's unyielding fury and survived by the narrowest margins. Elias stood upon the highest observation deck, gazing out over the sprawling metropolis that now glittered faintly beneath the soft light of the twin suns returning after the tempest. The air, though cleared, still carried the lingering scent of ozone and damp earth, as if the planet itself exhaled a breath of relief. Around him, the alien leaders convened, their usual regal composure touched with exhaustion, but underscored by a new, undeniable respect for Elias, for the human whose simple yet profound skills had saved countless lives and restored hope to a species long plagued by unpredictable skies. The elder matriarch Kalen approached, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the calm after the storm and a subtle shimmer of gratitude. "You have shown us something we had long forgotten," she said softly, her voice a melodic contrast to the cacophony of thunder that had once threatened their world. That wisdom need not always be found in machines or in the cold data of algorithms. Sometimes, it is in the living, breathing connection between a being and the world around them, something your kind has preserved through time. Elias felt the weight of her words and nodded with quiet humility. On Earth, before satellites and AI, we read the sky with our senses, smelling the wind, watching the clouds change shape, feeling the pressure shift on our skin. It's a language written in nature, a code older than technology itself. I came here not as a savior, but as a student of that language. The alien leaders listened intently as Elias shared the lessons of ancient Earth meteorology, weaving tales of farmers who predicted rain by the scent of moss, sailors who read storms in the colors of dawn, and tribes who interpreted the songs of birds and insects as weather omens. These stories resonated deeply with the Zirani, who, despite their technological marvels, had lost much of their own natural intuition, relying heavily on instruments that, while powerful, could not capture the nuances of their living planet. As the council sessions continued, the Alliance forged a new path, one that blended technology with instinct, data with intuition. The Zirani commissioned training programs to teach their people the ancient arts of weather reading, guided by Elias and a team of human experts. Together, they developed hybrid systems where sensors fed raw data into human interpretative frameworks, creating predictive models that were more resilient, adaptable, and nuanced. The storm that had once threatened to unravel their civilization became a catalyst for renewal, uniting disparate species through shared vulnerability and the rediscovery of timeless wisdom. Beyond the political and scientific victories, Elias found personal fulfillment in this alien world. Zira, the Shalian envoy who had stood by his side throughout the crisis, became not just a guide, but a companion who bridged the cultural and emotional divides between human and alien. Their conversations delved into philosophy, ecology, and the profound connections between life forms and their environments. Through her, Elias glimpsed the intricate balance of ecosystems shaped by millennia, and through him, Zira rediscovered the value of patience, observation, and humility in the face of nature's grandeur. In the weeks that followed, the skies of Xiran 9 began to heal. The violent tempests gave way to gentle rains that nourished the bioengineered forests. The winds carried seeds and life across the land, and the atmosphere settled into a rhythm that was both dynamic and harmonious. Citizens of Varith moved forward with cautious optimism, their trust in each other and in the natural world restored. Festivals were held to honor the Alliance's resilience, celebrating the storm's passing and the human whose senses had read the clouds and smelled the air with an ancient clarity. As Elias prepared to depart, the council held a ceremony beneath the now serene skies. Kalen presented him with a token, a delicate crystal prism etched with symbols of weather and life, a reminder of the enduring bond forged in tempest and trust. "May you carry our gratitude and our hope wherever you go," she said, her voice carrying the weight of countless generations. Elias accepted the gift, feeling the prism's cool surface pulse faintly in his hand. Looking back at the city, the skies, and the allies he had come to cherish, he understood that this mission was more than science or diplomacy. It was a testament to the power of connection, intuition, and the shared rhythms of all living things. The galaxy was vast and often unforgiving, but amid the storms and shadows, there was light, a light born of ancient knowledge and renewed faith. With a final breath of the fragrant Zirani air, Elias stepped onto his ship, the horizon's edge, and set a course for the stars. The lessons of Xiran 9 would travel with him, whispered on the winds and written in the clouds of worlds yet to be discovered. And as the ship soared into the infinite night, Elias smiled, knowing that sometimes, to predict the future, one must simply learn to listen to the silent language of the air.